Hello everybody, Flik here and welcome to a little trial run of some new type of content for my channel. We are here to play a game of Warhammer 40,000. I'm just going to refer to it as 40k. I'm going to try and keep this as inclusive as possible to my many subscribers who probably are not familiar with Games Workshop, Warhammer, Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer 40k. And there is a new edition. 8th edition came out not too long ago, and I stopped playing during 7th edition. So I'm going to be learning 8th edition. It's a little different, it's more streamlined. So we'll be learning it together, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. We'll see. And to start with, we're going to do the starter set for 8th edition, Dark Imperium it's called. And it comes with a mission included in it, sorry for the shine there, called Duel of Honor. I'm going to tweak the rules slightly, but we're basically just going to run through that with the models that came in the box, on a slightly bigger table with some additional rules that are a bit more like a proper game, and kind of introduce 40k to my channel. If you want to see more afterwards, please do show your support, and I'll see what I can do. So here we have the Primaris Ultramarines that come with the Dark Imperium starter set for 8th edition. I apologise that they're not all painted, I couldn't get all the painting done in time. However, they are being used as they appear, no changed weapons or anything. I am using the codex rules for both armies, but we're keeping them equipped as they appear. So the army is being led by Captain in Gravis Armour. Also, it's a bit late in the day after I got my table set up, so I apologise for the lighting. Hopefully, in the future, it'll be during the day and the lighting will be a bit better. He is accompanied by 2 Primaris Lieutenants. And then we have a squad of Hellblasters, which are basically Devastators, but they're all equipped with plasma guns, more or less. Then we have 2 squads of, well, they're the standard Primaris troop choice, and I think they're called Intercessors, I think? It's a very weird name. But anyway, 2 Intercessor squads, they're equipped with a new type of bolt gun, that's about it. Sergeants at the front there, only one set is painted unfortunately. At the back, Primaris Ancient, with a standard bearer thing. And then finally, Inceptors, I believe these are called, one of which is painted, and also his stick broke, so I had to actually glue him to the base. But that is the entirety of the Primaris Ultramarine force. There's not a lot of them because Primaris Marines are expensive, but they're all 2 wounds minimum, I think. And they'll be going up against Death Guard. And here we have the Death Guard that come with the 8th edition starter set, being led by Lord of Contagion in the middle here. Then we have a Malignant Plaguecaster who is a Psyker, the only Psyker that comes with the set. So as far as like the magic phase goes, to use layman terms I guess, he's the only one who's actually able to do anything, because it goes movement, psychic, shooting, assault, morale. That's how a basic turn goes. We'll go into that more once we've actually started the game. Then we also have Noxious Blightbringer, I think. The bell tolls for thee. Nurgle's bell, that is. Then we have 7 Plague Marines equipped as you see them, led by, that's the Sergeant with the Power Fist. Then we also have they used to be called Blight Drones, they're not called Blight Drones anymore. This is a Fetid Bloat Drone, that's the one. Then we have 2 squads of 10 Poxwalkers, which are the new version of Plague Cultists, with a copyrightable name. I've done 10 of the ones that came in Dark Imperium. I haven't done the other 10 yet, so I'm just using some stand-in third-party ones I used to use when I played 7th edition for Cultist Zombies. So that represents the entirety of Nurgle's Death Guard force, and they're going to be going up against the Ultramarines. So here we are at deployment with both armies set up. I'll take a closer look at how they're set up in a second, but the mission calls for up to 5 turns that end as soon as 1 Warlord for either army dies. So we're going to tweak that a little bit, and we're just going to say that if a Warlord dies, that awards 3 points to the person who did the kill, but we're also going to throw in some secondary objectives from 7th edition. So we're going to throw in First Blood, that's a bonus point if you're the first side to wipe out an enemy. We're also going to throw in Line Breaker, so that's if one army gets into the opposing army's deployment zone. Deployment zone goes from edge of the board up to the first line, which is 12 inches, and then there's a 24-inch no man's land between each army. I tried out the new 8th edition way of doing deployment, where I think you roll off, person who wins gets to choose whether they put a unit down first or second, then you alternate until one person runs out. Kind of did that. Not sure how I like that one just yet. However, we did do that, and also to keep things simple, I know I do have some units on both sides that can teleport in mid-fight. We're just going to put everything on the board here because it's just trying to get used to the combat. But anyway, we have not the Playcaster, the guy with the bell. I'll get used to the names in time. He's here. Fed Bloat Drone is here. Plague Marines, 1 squad of Poxwalkers, the Blightcaster, the Warlord for the Death Guard side, so the Lord of Contagion, he is next to the other side of zombies. Also, the mission called for 4 foot by 4 foot deployment, so I've done that, but the whole table is accessible if it comes to that. I'll just go around here and see how the Primaris Ultramarines have deployed. We have one Lieutenant here with one tactical, they're not tactical squads, Intercessor, and then the Ancient is there as well. That means they're going to be re-rolling 1s on their shots to hit. The Commander is kind of cowardly hiding behind this little stump of a building here, so he's out of line of sight. Then the other Intercessor squad is there. And then the Hellblasters are over here with the other Lieutenant, so they're also going to be re-rolling 1s. 30-inch range on their guns, so they should be able to reach. And then the Interceptors, they're probably best used drop-podding onto, well not drop-podding, sorry, jumping down onto the battlefield not on turn 1, but again we're keeping this simple to start with, so they're just on the board. They might sneak around kind of that way to maybe try and get at the Lord of Contagion there. So that is how we're going to handle it. The the Death Guard rather, will be going second unless they can steal initiative, which is rolling a 6. So I'm quickly going to grab a Nurgle dice here, and we're going to see. That is a 5. So it will begin with Primaris Ultramarines. I'll be back after the end of their first turn. Quick addendum for the record. Both teams have 3 command points. They can be used to do a various number of stratagems. I'm just going to use them for... You can use 1 to do a reroll in any phase if you want. So I'm just going to use them for that, just to keep it simple. Warlord trait for the Ultramarine side is Iron Resolve. That means he has +1 wound, and he has a 6+ chance to ignore a wound if he takes one. The Blightcaster on the Death Guard side knows 3 psychic powers: Smite, Curse of a Leper, and Miasma of Pestilence, and the Warlord trait for the Lord of Contagion is Revoltingly Resilient. So he gets +1 to his disgustingly resilient rolls, which means he can have a better chance of ignoring wounds, except when it's a mortal wound, and we'll worry about that if it actually happens. So here we are at the end of the first ever turn I've done in 8th edition, and it was a very ineffective turn, which is par for the course of how I had my time in 7th edition, really. One squad of Interceptors, Intercessors, whatever, they moved up over here a little bit. The Primaris Ancient and Lieutenant followed him. Also, so did the Captain in Gravis Armour a little bit, because most of the Chaos Force is actually on the left side, left for them anyway. Other Intercessors moved up a little bit to hopefully take some shots. The Hellblaster squad stayed still, as did the Lieutenant with them moved a little bit to try and get a shot in. And the Inceptors, they advanced. I do have a question about advancing. So this is replacing how the old run mechanic worked. If you choose to advance a unit, you roll an extra dice, then that gets added onto their movement. Do you have to do the full additional movement, is my question. Because they have a movement of 10, they moved them roughly there, but the advance was a 5. I didn't want to move the full 5 because it would have put them in line of sight for enemies, so I only moved like an additional 3. I assume that's okay. I believe it should be. As far as shooting was very ineffective. The Sergeant at the back of the Hellblasters is slightly too far behind, unfortunately, but the other 4 did manage to fire, and they took out 2 Poxwalkers over there. The Tactical Marines, Primaris Tactical Marines, they also shot at the other squad of Poxwalkers, took out 1. I just realised I did not do morale. I was thinking about the old Plague Zombies who did not take morale tests. I think Poxwalkers might. I'll double check, and if I do have to do that, I will do it between turns. Other than that though, fairly ineffective first turn for the Primaris Marines. When I move on to Death Guard, turn 1. At the end of Death Guard turn 1, it was very quick. I imagine more of the shooting is going to happen turn 2 because we just had to mostly move up here. Plague Marines just did a standard move up. Also, having to get used to everything having individual move stats, like in the Death Guard alone there's 5-inch moves, there's 4-inch moves, the bullet drone is 10 inches. It's getting used to all of this. The Blightbringer moved forwards as well. He is not in range to fire his plasma pistol, unfortunately. The bullet drone also moved up, not quite in range to use his Plague Spitters. The Plague Marines, however, were in range to shoot their bolt guns and 1 plasma gun. They all fired at the Primaris Marines they could see. It culminated rather, in a single wound to the Primaris Marine right at the front. Other than that, the Plague Zombies moved and advanced. One of them advanced slightly better than the other, so they're almost kind of even now. Basically just slowly advancing. towards the intercessors over here. And other than that, psychic phase, the Blightbringer cast Miasma of Pestilence on the Lord of Contagion, which means that anything shooting at the Death Guard Warlord next turn, they get -1 to hit chance. I think that covers it. We are now moving on to turn 2. Okay, here we are at the end of Primaris Ultramarines turn 2, and as I thought, much more shooting occurred. Very little moving up because the Death Guard are coming to them, basically, but the Intercessor squad moved up a little bit, the Lieutenant and the Ancient up behind them, as well as the Captain there. Now, because of a new rule in 8th edition where if a character model doesn't have more than 10 wounds when it starts the game, you can only target it if it's the closest target to you. So obviously it would be much better for all the things over here to unload into the Blightbringer to get him killed. The Bloat Drone is closer. So unfortunately they had to shoot at him with his toughness 7 or whatever. So they unloaded everything into him, but they did manage to do 2 wounds. I'm not quite sure how seeable that is, the wound tracker there. It starts with 10 wounds, he's down to 8. So they did a little bit of damage, but could definitely have been better. Speaking of things going better though, this Intercessor squad moved up just a little bit so that they were in rapid fire range. The way a rapid fire weapon works is if you're shooting something that's within half distance, you get to fire twice. So they shot a lot of shots into the Poxwalkers, killed almost all of them. There's only 2 left, but they do not take morale tests, so they're still fine. Hellblasters and also the Lieutenant shot in and did a little bit of damage to the Poxwalkers here. However, had to use the Inceptors here to finish them off. But they have been entirely wiped out, so that is first blood to the Ultramarines, so they're going to get a bonus point for that under the rules I've kind of tacked on to the mission. It also means they now have a free run at Lord of Contagion, but it's their turn next, so he might initiate combat with them. Meaning I'll have to look up how to do Assault in 8th edition, which I'm not looking forward to. Anyway, come back in a second for Death Guard turn 2. So here we are at the end of Death Guard turn 2, and I am indeed going to have some questions about how Assault works in 8th edition. So if you are more knowledgeable about it than me, please do answer my questions so that I know in the future going forwards. Anyway, Plague Marine squad moved up. Not all of them could see because of line of sight blocking terrains, but the few that could see, of one of which was in rapid fire range, they shot into the Intercessor squad over here, as did the Fetid Bloat Drone, as did the Noxious Blightbringer. I'll learn the names, I promise. All of them shot. In the end, it resulted in one Primaris Marine dying and another wound being dealt to the Sergeant because he was the next closest. I don't know if I could have put it on a different one if I chose. I don't think I can, but either way, they pass morale, so they're not running anywhere, but that is a man down in that squad and another wound on a second model. The surviving 2 zombies, sorry, Poxwalkers, legally distinct, they just moved up so that they're between this squad and the Plaguecaster, because that means they have to be shot first, because they're closer than a character with less than 10 wounds. So that's a very interesting way to do your tactics. Anyway, the thing that matters is the Lord of Contagion successfully charged and did Overwatch as normal. Overwatch wound actually got through, however his improved Disgustingly Resilient roll saved him from taking a wound. He got in. Now in 8th edition, I think both sides fight within the same turn, not just the side whose turn it is. So I think I've got that right. The part I don't know is, Lord of Contagion, he went first because he charged, he initiated the fight, etc. He killed 2 of the Inceptors, just annihilated them, also dealt 1 wound to the surviving Sergeant. When it came time for them to fight back, do you fight back with only the survivors, or do you still count it as everyone being alive prior to the results? That's my question. The way I did it here, which is hopefully the right way, is that if someone died, they didn't get to fight back. So it's possible the Lord of Contagion could have taken a hit back, but I did it as only the Sergeant fighting back. They're not designed for close combat, so he's suffering, he's probably going to die, and they're still in combat, they consolidated at the end or piled in or whatever they call it now. So that's as it stands. Space Marines have not lost a squad yet, but they're definitely about to. Anyway, we're now going to turn 3 for the Space Marines. End of Ultramarines, Space Marines, Primaris, whatever you want to call them, turn 3. And another new feature of 8th edition, I believe I've done correctly, is that when you declare shooting, not only is a unit allowed to shoot every gun they have access to, but you can split shots as long as you decide where they're splitting them prior to any rolling being done. So what I did with this Intercessor squad is I moved them up and I selected that these two would fire at the two remaining zombies because I assumed that would be enough to kill them, and it was, so they are now gone. And I opted for the other three to shoot at the Plague Marines, and they actually managed to kill one. I forgot to do morale for them, but given that it's their first casualty, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Let's quickly roll a dice. 4 + 1, that's fine, it's under their leadership characteristics, so they're okay. Other than that, on this side of the table, probably a mistake, but the other Intercessor squad decided to charge the fitted block drone, forgetting of course that his weapons work like flamers, so they automatically hit on Overwatch. Big mistake, lots of wounds went through, only one survived to actually get into combat. However, because the Primaris Ancient is here with his standard bearer thing, on a 4+, any Marine that dies near him gets to muster one last attack, and I actually got good rolls with that. So the Blight Drone is down to 6 wounds. I think he's 1 away from his stats being affected by his wounds becoming so severe. That said though, he definitely won the combat. Now they're kind of stuck there. I'm not sure if he's able to leave combat freely. I think anything with the fly rule can. But we'll look into that at a later date, or you can tell me. Over here, deliberately made sure that the Hellblasters shot after the Intercessor squad in the middle so that they could overcharge their guns and fire at the Noxious Blightbringer, which they did. He is down to 2 wounds remaining, so he's almost dead. And combat, I assume I'm doing this right again, the Inceptor Captain could not hurt the Lord of Contagion. Lord of Contagion annihilated him when he got to attack back. Again, if he wasn't supposed to attack back, then this combat should have still been ongoing, so if that is a mistake, my bad, I'll learn from it, please do tell me. And Lord of Contagion consolidated forwards a little bit, both going for line breaker by getting into the Space Marines deployment and also getting out of line of sight of the Hellblasters. And that's it for their turn. Not looking great for the Primaris Space Marines as we move on to turn 3 for the Death Guard. End of Death Guard turn 3, and turns are getting quicker now because we're not playing with that many models really. Plague Marines have moved up, they shot into the Intercessor squads here, they managed to kill one outright, forgot to do their, oh wait no, I did the morale test, I don't think they can actually fail it when they've only lost one in a turn. The Malignant Plaguecaster moved up and he cast on them Curse of the Leper, but was unable to kill anyone with it, unfortunately. Very bad roll there. At the far end of the table, the Lord of Contagion is kind of sneaking around the side of the building there. It's a bit out of focus, but you can kind of see him, he's hiding, because the Hellblasters might actually be able to hurt him. Other than that, the Blightcaster, no, Noxious, Blightbringer, that's the one, I think. He shot at one of the lieutenants, the Primaris lieutenants, then he went into combat, didn't take any damage from Overwatch. They, however, did not manage to damage each other at all, so that was unfortunate. But over here, the poor old Primaris Marine fell to the block drone, so the block drone is now free to do whatever, but we are moving into Primaris Space Marines turn 4. End of Primaris Space Marines turn 4, very ineffective shooting phase unfortunately. Split shot of the surviving Intercessors again, so that 2 tried to finish off the Plaguecaster, they obviously failed, he has still got 2 wounds remaining. The other 2 tried to soften up the Plague Marines and did actually kill 1. The captain in Gravitas armor, I think it's Gravitas, right? Something armor, it looks cool either way. He shot in first with his pistol, didn't do anything, charged in, didn't take any damage on Overwatch, very luckily actually, because there was quite a few 6s on the Death Guard side. In combat, he killed 1 Plague Marine, they in return did nothing back. Over here, the Primaris Ancient joined the Primaris Lieutenant trying to kill this Death Guard here. Nothing done on either side. Ridiculous, disgustingly resilient rolls saved him from the Power Sword, and he did nothing back. Very ineffective. What was the most ineffective though, oh actually first of all, Lieutenant here had just got line of sight, kind of the Plaguecaster. He shot once, didn't do anything. The Hellblasters fell back in order to shoot at Mr. Lord of Contagion, who was sneaking around this side here. They all overcharged their guns, which means that they have higher strength and also have a risk of destroying themselves, but with the sergeant there that's negated pretty much, the lieutenant. They all got a lot of wounds through, but because of his improved disgustingly resilient roll from his warlord trait, he avoided taking a potential 4 damage, and he is actually entirely unscathed. That was it, that was a really quick turn. The turns are going super fast now as we go to Death Guard turn 4. Here we are at the end of turn 4 for the Death Guard. Mostly done in close combat, however, with the fitted block drone free now. He moved up, shot into the Primaris squad here, the Intercessors, killed one of them, and also in the psychic phase prior to that, Malignant Plaguecaster tried to do the Curse of the Leper again, got 1 wound from doing it this time. So there's 2 left on 2 wounds, 1 left on a single wound. That was all there was to be done there. The combat with the Blightbringer, I think, I'll learn them, I promise. He didn't do anything to either the Primaris Lieutenant or the Primaris Ancient. They, however, managed to wound him once or twice, I've forgotten, but either way he's down to 3 wounds from however many he started. Over the other end of the table, the Lord of Contagion made his charge. He did get shot on Overwatch, and in the ensuing combat he killed 1 Hellblaster, also put 1 wound on, well, I think I can choose who gets the 1 wound that was to go somewhere. I chose to put it on the Sergeant, it doesn't really matter. He also took a wound, so he is down to 5 wounds remaining. He would have taken a lot more if not, again, for disgustingly resilient. And that's it, that was a very quick turn. Now we're into turn 5 for the Primaris Space Marines, which is the last turn regardless of what happens for them, and then it's the last turn for the Death Guard. So here we go. End of turn 5 for the Space Marines, their final turn. Very quick shooting phase, because the only shooting that could go on here is some shots from the Primaris Marines into the Plaguecaster, as well as the other lieutenant over here who moved up a little bit. They did nothing. Combat then ensued. The Plaguecaster killed 1 of them. They were able to deal no wounds back, so he is surviving on 2 wounds, but is still in combat with them. The only other things going on were combats. So over here, we lost 1 more Hellblaster of a Sergeant because he already had a wound. I saw that if someone already has a wound, a new wound must be dealt to them until they die, then it moves on, etc. So I think I did that correctly. So he is down. The Lord of Contagion still has 5 wounds. Over this side, for how good I thought they would do, the Primaris Ancient and the Primaris Lieutenant with the Power Sword, they can't quite get the Blightbringer. He's down to 1 wound. He did nothing back. There is that. And then over here, thanks to amazing, disgustingly resilient rolls, both Plague Marines, the Sergeant with the Power Fist and the just normal Plague Marine with a Plasma Gun, survived, and they actually did 2 wounds to the Captain in the Gravis Armour. Now keep in mind he had 1 bonus one from his Warlord trait, and actually I just realised, if I can find my notes, I think that means he gets a kind of feel no pain, doesn't he? Let's see. Yes he does, he has a 6+ feel no pain, which I forgot about, so let's quickly roll for both the wounds he took. He still took them, that's a 5 and a 4. So yeah, he's got 4 wounds remaining, and we're now on to the very final turn of my first ever 8th edition game. I'm almost certain I'm doing things wrong with Assault Phase. Best I can tell is there is a new strategic layer to it where, because you alternate picking which combat and who to use next, you can kind of do some sneaky stuff, but I'm not sure, so I'll definitely need some feedback on that. But anyway, let's move on to the final turn. And here we are at the end of turn 5 for the Death Guard, which by the mission rules, which was called Duel of Honour, is the last turn, so the game is now over, and it was just combats because there was nothing that could be shot at. So in this combat, I'll remember his name in a second. The Blightbringer, there you go. The Blightbringer fell in combat, freeing up the Primaris Ancient and the Lieutenant who survived. Over here, 1 additional wound was done to the Plaguecaster, however that was not enough to kill him, he did nothing back. Over here, the Lord of Contagion, I think he took 1 more wound, I can't quite remember, but either way he killed 2 of the Hellblasters, 1 lived, so there's that. And then finally, the Fed Drone joined combat, and this, if you're going to explain to me how combat in 8th edition works, use this as your primary example. 2 Plague Marines, Captain, already in combat together, fighting. Bloat Drone joins combat. Doesn't get Overwatch obviously because the combat's already ongoing. What order does the fight happen in? Because initiative isn't a thing anymore, so how do you work out the order in which things happen, or do they all happen simultaneously and then damage is done after? Either way, the Blight Drone actually managed to do 2 wounds to the Captain, putting him down to 2. Power Fist whiffed, couldn't kill him, and the Captain dealt 2 wounds to the Plague Marines, both of which got put onto the Plague Marine who's dead. Although actually now I think about it, it can't have done that, so it would have actually killed them both. But either way, I rolled as if he was still alive to see if he would have finished off the Captain. He wouldn't have, he missed. so the captain would have lived regardless. However, use this combat as an example for explaining to me the order in which combat happens. I think now, upon seeing this, it's got to be that everybody hits simultaneously and damage is dealt out afterwards. It's got to be. Either way. That leaves us with both warlords still alive, albeit the Primaris one being closer to death. So that means there's no points for that. The Ultramarines got first blood for killing one of the units of... This is the dead pile over here for both armies, incidentally. For killing one of the zombie units, so they got a point for that. And the Lord of Contagion is in the Primaris Space Marines deployment zone, because it's at that little line there. So that's a point. So it's actually a draw, 1-1, with no points for actually murdering any warlord. If we'd done it as additional points for wiping out units, I think the Space Marines wiped out more units, because the Blightcaster, whatever he's called, it will stick eventually. He would have been another unit. That would have been 3 versus 2. Yeah, so the Space Marines would have won it on kill points if we were doing full kill points. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. That's Warhammer 40k. I'm trying to learn 8th edition, so please do help me. Let me know common mistakes that 8th edition players might make if they're coming from 7th and haven't played for a while. Hope you enjoyed though. Hopefully there will be more to come. Please do show your support. I have been Flik. Thank you for watching. And ta for now.